Hey everyone, how we doing today? Mark Joe Szymanski back again. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. One of my things that I want to do, as you could tell by one of the previous videos on everything that I have going on, is I am starting a brand called Fueled by Progress. That brand is going to have clothing, it's going to have a podcast associated with it that it already does, and I don't know where it's going to go. Sky's the limit. There's a lot more things that I'd like to do with it, but for now, those are the two things that I am really excited about and want to get off the ground. So I would like to document the process of kind of building that up. I have and I'm working on a course of how to go from like nothing to starting an LLC and doing everything that you need to do, everything that I've done like 4 or 5 times now with all the different things that have going on. And what I want to do today in this video is show you one of the steps, because I need to get an EIN number so I can start opening bank accounts and things like that. I've already established the LLC. I did that a while ago, so unfortunately we're not going to see that. But let's get that EIN number. If any of you guys are in the same situation, then hopefully you can get some value out of this. So let's jump right into it. So we're over here on Google, and honestly, the first thing, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Quick disclaimer, I am in no way a legal professional or tax professional or anything like that. I just figured out how to do this, and I'm re-sharing it with you guys, maybe with a couple things that I know of just from doing this a few times. So I would go Google, and I would go IRS EIN, apply for an EIN. They might have changed this by the time you're watching this, but this has been like this for a few years, I think now. Right down here, apply online now. Quick anecdote about this though is I actually one time, so this is all online, this process here, and you can get your EIN in like less than 10 minutes, but honestly, a really super important piece of value that some people might run across is, and I honestly should put in like a different video because it's that important. I got an EIN for a parent company, and then I wanted to get an EIN for one of the subsidiaries, and it was the most confusing thing in the world because I didn't realize that the IRS literally doesn't care that you're a subsidiary. They only care about, and you'll see it in here at one point, they only care about the responsible party. So let's get to that, and then what I'm mentioning there is this form, this SS4 form. We're not going to need to worry about any of that. We're going to do all this online, but that's a very important piece of information that not a lot of people are going to need, so we'll come back to it. We're here at the initial screen for the EIN application. Let's click Begin Application. This will vary depending on what you're doing, but most people, I think a lot of people nowadays do LLCs unless you move into the corporation type thing, and that obviously you can change that at some point. But for us, our purposes here, LLC, continue. This just tells you make make sure that you're an LLC, so you continue. How many members? 1. If you're doing more than one, I did this for a partnership one time. It's pretty much the same thing. You just have to make a decision on who's the responsible party, things like that. But 1 is the if you're just doing it by yourself. This one's pretty easy. State where you're located in, Pennsylvania. That's physically located as well. So again, this is just telling you some information about how you're going to be taxed. So you're a single member, you're going to be a disregarded entity. In the video that I did about sort of how I have everything going on, I believe I touched on this. Everything just flows up through my parent company. I have an interesting situation going on where I have a lot of things owned by one parent company. If you're just one company and you're just a single solo entrepreneur, it's probably just going to flow back up onto your personal tax return, and the company's just going to go on as a Schedule C. Don't quote me on any of that, but that is how mine works. So maybe talk to your CPA, but this is just kind of explaining that to you. If we go ahead and click continue. So for this next one, it's just asking why are you requesting an EIN. I'm not really sure if anything changes if you click any of these, but all I do is normally just start a new business and continue. Okay, so now's where you're starting to actually enter information about you and the LLC. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my information here. You guys can do the same, just first name, last name, name, SSN, and then down here, choose one. If you're the owner, if you're doing this for yourself, then you're clicking the first one. If somebody else was doing it for you, like a lawyer or something like that, they would click the second one. And to briefly touch on what I was talking about earlier, this is the part that messes you up if you're trying to get an EIN when a business owns a business. You actually, I don't think, can do that anymore, but you used to be able to say, okay, business A owns business B, so business A is the responsible party. And I think the IRS actually nixed that about a year and a half ago when I was really ramping all of this up, because it just creates this train of this business is responsible for this business, and I think people were really taking advantage of that. So point of all that is that you have to have your business, from the IRS perspective, has to be tied back legally to one specific person, and really one SSN. So, or I guess ITIN in this case, but you get the point. One individual, and it doesn't matter if you have like 10 partners or something like that. I'm pretty sure it has to be one specific person that is the responsible party. So that's just a thing that you probably won't ever have to deal with, but I did. So next we're going to click continue. So the next one is, where is your LLC physically located? Now, my LLC right now technically is located at my house, but I don't know if I'm going to put that in here, just because I also have a UPS store box, and that's where I get all my mail to and everything like that. And if anything, if they would need to reach me in any way, I check that very regularly. So I am probably going to put that in there. Don't follow my advice on this. If you have a store, obviously put that in there. If you actually work out of your house, you might want to do that, but I don't know, and honestly, this may change at some point, so I'm probably just going to do that. So just anyway, throw in your street address and your phone number and everything like that in here. Okay, so the next section is details about the LLC. So basically, you're going to put in the legal name of the LLC. If you have a DBA, you can put that in here, and then just a couple other things: the county where it's located, the state again, the state where it's physically located, and the state where it was the articles of organization were filed. That could be different, probably the same though. And then whatever the start date was, so the month and year that happened. So for my purposes, and I'll just show you guys this because I think it's important to just kind of see exactly what you're supposed to put in here. The legal name of the LLC, you can see here it says must match the articles of organization. Make sure you just put it in like you did with your state. One thing is, I always like to put a little comma here when I organize it at the state level, but you're not supposed to do that because it's only, if you look at this line, there's no punctuation other than a hyphen and an and symbol. So just put it in without the comma. That tripped me up at first too. That doesn't matter. That's fine. As I noted, if you have DBA, you can put that in there, your county, all that sort of stuff, and then the start date whenever you initially organized it. After you're done with that, press continue. So now it's going to ask you a couple more questions that are pretty uncommon, I would say, unless you're doing something that revolves in these areas. So none of these apply to the business that I'm setting up, but just take a look into these questions and see if they apply to you. Then you'll hit continue. So this is pretty much one of the last questions they'll ask you is, what do you actually do? And there's a bunch of different categories here, and it'll obviously depend on what your business is. For mine being a brand that I firmly intend on selling clothing from and having a podcast and things like that, I haven't done a retail one yet, but I think I'm gonna do a retail one this time. And I'll press continue. So of these options, I would say that selling goods exclusively over the internet probably fits me the best. Again, I'm not a legal consultant, so don't take my word for this, but as long as this is somewhat in what you're doing and you're not straight up lying, these categories aren't that great in my opinion, given all the different niches of business you could do, especially online today, unless you're running a food service thing or something like they had in the beginning. Just make it as close as possible. As long as you're doing it in good faith, I don't think you'll have any problems. So selling goods over the internet, boom. Continue. Okay, so we're pretty much right at the end of the line here. I would really not recommend trying to receive this by mail because it will take a pretty long time. The letter online is instant. It says make sure you have Adobe Reader, but it's just going to be a PDF so you can see it anyway. Receive letter online. Continue. So here's the final step here. It's just to make sure all of your information is correct. Once you've reviewed all this information here, just go ahead into the bottom and click submit. And boom, there you go. Congratulations, you have an EIN assigned to you. Here's your legal name. In your confirmation letter here, if you click that, you'll be able to open it up as a PDF and download it. So you'll have that for your documentation. Like I said, I would make note of that specifically somewhere, and then also keep the actual confirmation letter. And then if we click continue, it talks a little bit about what you can use for your EIN, your next steps for your LLC, and everything like that. And then if we press continue, it'll say, thank you for using the online EIN assistant. So that pretty much wraps it up. The next step for me specifically with Fueled by Progress, and maybe you guys as well if you're in the same position right now, is to really actually utilize that EIN. So a couple of things that the IRS might have noted on there would be like get a bank account. So the next thing that I'm going to do, the next video maybe in this mini series of building up Fueled by Progress, is going to be getting a bank account for Fueled by Progress via a new company, pretty new company to the business checking scene, and that's Aslo. I have another account for another business through them, and it's a pretty good platform. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the EIN, walk through that entire process, give it a little bit of a review and everything, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. So hopefully you got some value out of this video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, ring that little bell, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, and I'll talk to you in the next one.